Everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Rex Barrett. I'm the Director of Security for Prince George's County Public Schools. Today, I brought with me an assistant, Ms. Brenda Watkins. And the reason or the purpose for the presentation is to give the community, give administrators, give parents an opportunity to see some of the things that we're doing in Prince George's County Public Schools to make the schools a safer environment. But also, I'm a visual person, just like most of you probably are, so that's why I wanted to bring a PowerPoint so you kind of see what these things or these devices are going to look like next year. We're installing some of the products now, but the majority are going to be done over the course of the summer. So that way when we start the school year next year, you'll see a lot of these things in place. Thanks. And that's actually just what I spoke of, so we'll go to the next. One of the main things that we're doing now, and you've probably seen it at quite a few of the schools in the area already, is electronic access control. As you heard Ms. Queen say, we're locking all of our doors now, and we're making it so that it's controlled access. That way, to obtain entry into the building, you have to be there for a valid reason, and somebody has to see that and allow you the access. As you can see, the system that's here, up in the upper right corner, that's what the device looks like on the outside. So what would happen is you would push the button. They would be able to see you in the office on the phone that's down here in the left corner. To see who you are, they can ask you to present an ID, state what your purpose is there, and they can allow you access from there. Next. In every one of our schools, we've also installed panic buttons. Now, I gave you an idea what the panic button looks like. It's pretty dark because obviously for a panic button, that's going to be under a desk or under a counter because we don't want it to be readily visible to the public. This is just in case something were to occur where they couldn't pick up the phone and call 911. They could hit the button that would immediately notify police. As you see at some of our schools already, we have closed circuit television camera systems there. These act in a variety of different capacities. Obviously, it's a deterrent because people see it on the outside. When they see the device on the outside, they know that they're being captured on tape, and that acts as a deterrent. It also helps us to solve issues. If we have an activity that occurs, we can go back and view the camera footage to come up with a suspect and charge either administrative or criminally on that, in that regard. Now, 149 of our schools already have the camera systems. Over the summer, we've got 55 more that we're putting in. These are going to have about 28 cameras per school. We're also installing a visitor management system. The system is called Raptor, and what it does is when you come in and you provide your ID to the person who's at the counter, whether it be a security person or an administrator, they scan your ID through the system. What happens when it goes through the system is it checks you through data sets such as the sex offender registry. We can also put in there if there's custody issues. For example, if there's a parent that has a do not release issue ordered against the child for the opposite parent, we'll know that. It'll come up in the system. It'll tell us exactly how, whether somebody's allowed to have access or not. We can also put protective orders in there. So if there's a protective order against like a member of the community, a parent, or somebody at the staff, we're going to know this once they scan it through. Now, if they successfully scan their way through, what will happen is it'll print a visitor ID badge that has your photo on it. So that way everyone in the building will know that you've been vetted through the proper channels. A lot of our schools, and you've seen this in your communities, we have a lot of temporary classrooms that are out situated either to the side or the rear of the schools. Our communities are set up to where the schools are right in the center of a lot of them. So there's a lot of foot traffic that will go from one side of school property to the other. So what we want to do is we want to prevent an opportunity for somebody that's going to, be in a position to cause harm to one of our students to have access to these temporary buildings. So what we're doing is we're putting a 6-foot fence around the outside of the temporaries to prevent them from having access from the outside. Now, just like you see in the school, the doors that have the crash bars, it's going to be the same way for the fencing. So if there is an emergency, the students can get out easily. Just people won't be able to get in. They're going to have to go through the front office to be vetted. One other thing that we're doing in the off season, we've already had our staff fitted for uniforms. We're going to put all of our staff in uniform over the summer so that when we start the school year next year, we have a very visible, professional workforce. Most of you, as you know, when you go to a lot of our high schools and middle schools, we have a large contingent of security staff at a lot of these schools, but you would never know it by walking in. We've got anywhere from 5 to 8 personnel. So now, with them being in uniform, it's going to basically band them together. They're going to be more team-oriented. You're going to know who they are when you go to the school. staff's going to know and students are going to know, because they're going to know exactly what they're there for and what they represent. And it also gives them a more professional appearance. We also do systemic lockdown drills every year. Obviously, you see what happened throughout the country, some of the incidents when you start from Sandy Hook and what have you. Obviously, when you look at like fire drills, I don't think that we've had in 30 years, students injured or hurt due to fire because of the fire drills. So in the same regard, we enacted a process where we're doing systemic lockdown drills. So that way, the students, the staff, everybody's used to it, so that if an emergency does occur, and obviously we don't ever want that to happen, but if it does, we want them to know how to handle it. So we do 4 of those a year, and we change the scenarios so that they're not the same thing over and over. Obviously, if something's going to happen, it's not going to be while the kids are in class. They don't call ahead and say, hey, I'm coming, get ready. So with that, we had to practice while we were at lunch, and transition, arrival, and dismissal. So that way we cover all the bases. Every year, our security staff perform security assemblies. They work with the pupil personnel workers. So what they do is they talk to the students about what constitutes behavior where they could be charged administratively or criminally. And in that regard, too, our preference is now to handle things administratively. Obviously, our job is to keep the kids in their seats. They're not going to succeed if we put them out of school. So we do everything we can now to keep them there as opposed to putting them out right away. Next. We also trained all of our security staff in conflict resolution. This happened last summer. There's obvious reasons for it. What we noticed was that people were being suspended, they were leaving school, they were coming back in school, but their conflicts were never resolved. The issue that had them to either fight or get into an argument, it wasn't dealt with. So when they come back, that spills over into 9, 10, 12 more incidents. So by doing a conflict resolution before they either leave or right when they come back, we noticed that we were able to prevent a lot more incidents. When you talk about, like I talked about earlier, about keeping the kids in, I'll give you an idea about high school incidents last year. About this time, we had about 1,250 incidents. That resulted in roughly 700 arrests. That's a large number of arrests. This year, we're down below 1,100. I wish I could knock on wood because I don't want to jinx myself with a week and a half to go. But our arrests are down to 450. I mean, that's a significant drop. It's almost 50%. Also, with the arrests that we do have, there's 450, over half of those were referred to diversionary programs. Phil Lee does a program over at Neighborhood Youth Panel over at CPAC where they sit like as a hearing. The juvenile comes in with the parent, and they were able to give like community service, mentoring programs, and counseling. So about 250 of those have been referred this year. So if they comply with these programs where he's got an 87% success rate, they don't go to DJS. They don't have a record. So they get the resources that they need, they get the counseling, they get the community service, they get the mentoring, and they don't have a record. So that way we're stopping that whole schoolhouse to prison house mentality. Obviously, you all know the value and the importance of this, partnerships. For us to succeed as a county, we have to work together. I often joke now, like when I talk about some of the county police officers, I retired from there 3 years ago, and I think I talk to them more now than I did when I was still there. But that's important because we're able to get in front of things. Something happens at a school that I feel is going to have a potential of reaching out to the community, I'll let the district commander know. And vice versa. If they have something in the community that they feel is going to spill back into the schoolhouse, we're making contact on that. As far as like the importance of actually also getting out in front of the community like this to make sure that you're aware of some of the things that we're doing. Next. Obviously, like you hear like the crime stats every week when the major comes in and he talks about trends and patterns. This is a way for us to be successful in identifying where we have issues and where we need to do better. So with data-driven deployment, what we do is I look at it every day, just like the district commanders do here with the police department, to see where we have issues so we can get on top of it right away. Obviously, I don't know if most folks know the statistics on this, but we have 204 buildings. That's just the school buildings themselves. We also have about 15 bus lots, and we have about 15 administrative buildings. So we have an aggressive campaign to have all this stuff installed over the summer. Next. Before I go into the question part, I also have my contact information up here. If anybody would like to, if you have any issues or concerns, please call at any time. Also send an email. And with that, I'll take questions.